Phlox is the Greek word for flame, and it's also the name of a large group of mostly perennial plants widely grown in many gardens. They are native to the United States, and are very cold-hardy, growing in zones 3 to 9 depending on the variety. These perennials are mainly grown for their abundant flowering from spring through summer, with a few cultivars blooming in late August. The bright and colorful star-shaped flowers come in pastel pink, white, lavender, purple, orange and bicolors. They are attractive to bees, butterflies and a host of other pollinators. There are a diverse variety of phlox which make them such versatile ornamental plants in the garden. Some of the more popular ones are: the moss phlox or Phlox subulata is a low-growing, dense ground cover best grown in sunny areas of the garden. It blooms in early spring, and the flowers usually cover the entire plant that no leaves can be seen. Moss phlox's native habitat is in dry, rocky areas, which makes them drought-tolerant. They will tolerate poor soil as long as it is well-draining. They flourish in full sun. Growing them in shaded areas will cause the plants to thin out. The creeping phlox or Phlox stolonifera is a low-growing variety that make an excellent ground cover in areas that get dappled shade. They spread relatively quickly and will give you a brightly colored carpet of flowers in no time. Creeping phlox requires moist but well-draining, nutrient-rich soil. Grow them in a site that gets full morning sun, and partial shade from the hot afternoon sun. Water them regularly to keep the soil consistently moist but not soggy. The woodland phlox or Phlox divaricata is also a shade-loving, low-spreading variety with upright flower stems growing to about 1 foot tall. They thrive in areas that get dappled shade. Grow woodland phlox in moist soil that is amended with lots of organic matter. Water regularly to keep the soil consistently moist. They will go partly dormant if the soil gets too dry in the summer. Like creeping phlox, they also grow best when exposed to the morning sun and gets full shade from the hot afternoon sun. The garden phlox or Phlox paniculata is the tallest variety, reaching 3 to 5 feet tall, making them ideal as a colorful backdrop in a garden bed. It blooms from early to late summer, and the fragrant flowers are held in large clusters 4 to 8 inches wide. They make excellent cut flowers. Garden phlox requires at least 6 hours of sun each day for best flowering. Plant them in nutrient-dense soil that is well-draining and consistently moist. If grown in warmer climates, make sure they get some afternoon shade. During early spring, add a layer of compost by working it in the top layer of the soil, then top up with a layer of mulch. This will help keep the soil moist and suppress the weeds. If you have poor soil, feed the plants with a balanced garden fertilizer once a year during spring. Different species of phlox require different pruning methods. Moss phlox can be mowed or sheared after flowering to keep the plants tidy. Set the mower at the highest setting. Creeping phlox should be lightly trimmed back after it is done blooming for best appearance. Woodland phlox needs to be trimmed after it is done blooming. Garden phlox should be deadheaded to encourage longer bloom time. And cut back the entire plant 2 inches above ground level after the first frost in fall. Some phlox can be susceptible to powdery mildew and spider mites. As part of prevention, always clean up stems and fallen leaves around the plant. Make sure to avoid crowding the plants to encourage good air circulation. Phlox are deer and rabbit resistant. Phlox can be propagated from stem cuttings, but they will often reseed freely when planted in favorable growing conditions. Clumps can also be dug up and divided in spring. Divisions must be replanted immediately to prevent them from drying out. And keep newly planted phlox well watered. Consider adding different varieties of phlox in your yard for that visual appeal and dependable summer flowers that return year after year. Thank you for watching.